Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Go-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License Lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clover Crest, top three corner men, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, lock it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut, got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a stand and eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing, counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bring in crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is throwing jabs.
Welcome to the Throwing Jabs podcast, part of the CMG Sports Network. I'm Joe McGuire, along with Jared Jones. We took last week off because there was really nothing noteworthy going on, just Dana White's Contender Series, nothing happening in the boxing world. But it did not give us the opportunity to talk about the most insane thing that's happened in the last 3 years, and I'm including the coronavirus when I say this. Leon Edwards, I think, Jared, people thought maybe Leon Edwards had a shot going in. Come fifth round, nobody thought he had a shot at anything, and he slowly but surely, while being criticized, started working that low kick, and then eventually brought it up, a little level change, and put Kamaru Usman out cold. A shocking sight for sure.
My question is, what happened 3 years ago, Joe?
I don't know. Arbitrary time I picked.
I went to Rousey and home for the last time I was that shocked. And I can't, and when I put them up next to each other, it's this one. We have to go back before that because Holly Holm was dominating that fight with Rousey when she did that. It didn't come as, oh, goodness. It wasn't as much of a shock when Rousey, I mean, it was a shocker, but this was like just, man, chin on the floor for like 20 minutes as they're ironing out what happened, and just because it had gotten so just rudimentary, going through the motions of having the fight. You know, Leon did real well in the first round, really pushed it, might have a chance. And then Usman, the tidal wave of one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen, overtook him. And he was pulled underneath that and just kind of rolling back out with the tide. And we're all watching the end of that process when all of a sudden from the jaws of defeat, my goodness. Yeah, that was about as shocked as I've ever been in a fight. You know what? I've got one. Ebo Elder come up 2 weight classes on late notice and knocked out Courtney Burton in the last round of a fight. He was probably down like 8-3. And that's the last time I was this shocked, because it was the smaller guy and the punches weren't having an effect. And then all of a sudden they did. That's the last time this was as shocking as my man Alex Proust said. This is as shocking as you're ever going to see in a fight.
Well, again, you mentioned Holmes Rousey, right? And Holmes just right from the jump seemed like she had her number. And this will, again, he got off to a nice start. Edwards got to take down. People were thrilled. And then 2, 3, 4, and most of 5, it was like, oh, yeah, Usman is just so much better. I had, just before that kick to his face, I was as sure he was going to win as I was that Pat Barry was going to knock out Czech Congo. Right up until he didn't.
What were the live odds right then, right before the knockout happened? The live odds had to be off the wall.
That's a really good question.
And I have a better one. I've got a better one since Ebo Elder, since a couple of my people are watching the show. How about a one Justin Buju Hayes knocking out a kid named Jared Jones at Scraps 34 might have been. Because I dominated all 3 rounds of the fight. It was an obvious 30-27 type of bout with this kid about my size who'd been chasing me and all this aggression, and such a tough kid. And I was like, okay, let's trade a few shots. And the shock and awe among the crowd when I hit the ground and then couldn't beat the count. Nobody said anything. There was this dead silence of just shock, just like that. It was just like that. So dominant. We all know what's happening. We all know what's going to happen. I should have went to bed 10 or 15 minutes ago, and then all the lights come on. That was except for the ones in Kamaru Usman, because those all turned off.
Yeah. Isn't that truly, though, the beauty of this sport? And I've seen a few comments already, and I could not agree more. The idea that, my God, Edwards' corner was screaming at him after 3, 4, and 5. Like, what? Not after 5. After 5, it was a different yelling. But asking him, like, what's up, dude? Are you just happy to be here? You're here. There's your moment. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you taking it? By all accounts, this guy seemed between rounds like he was out of it. Like he, again, kind of like he was just happy to be there, happy to be in the moment. I'm fighting for a title. This is great. And if I don't win, you know what? I fought for a title. I'll walk out with my chin high, took him down to the front. I gave my best effort. And then, like you said, just pulled victory from the jaws of defeat. Although he used his foot to get that jaw, but did just the same. Very effective. Do these guys have to rematch immediately? Is that, is there can't be any other fight in the interim?
You have
they
to.
got to run this back.
Yes, you can't. How would you feel good about either guy fighting any other guy? And you know how I am with rematches. I would rather not most of the time. Mad love, Alex. True. Very true. That composure, that I was talking to somebody the other day about battle raps, having bumped into Hydro. Some of I had a really weird situation there, but I was talking about battle raps, and like the first 2 or 3 times I jumped into one, it was like all the insanity was inside of me and outside of me, and everything was just insanity. And then after a while, I started to find this place where it was just me. Like I know my lyrics. So, and I've done them millions of times. So I'd get in there, and it was kind of like, the only way I could describe it was the Eye of the Storm. I actually have a song called Eye of the Storm that's kind of about that little finding that spot, and in hindsight, it's cool to say maybe Leon Edwards was there. He was feeling it. He was vibing it. He was right in the eye of the storm. So all that chaos around him was like, nah, I'm doing something. I think I got this. And he did.
Yeah. So were they looking maybe to aim for February at Wembley Stadium? I want to ask you this, though, Jared, before we go any further. We've talked a lot about guys getting knocked out. We talked a lot about, Alistair Overeem, for one, who's gotten knocked out so many times in his career. But again, just the idea Chuck Liddell got knocked out, right, and suddenly a strong wind could take the guy down. After Tony Ferguson took the beating of a lifetime from Justin Gaethje, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I just saw this recently, said he was concerned that Tony Ferguson might not come back from that beating, and that sometimes you just have a hard time coming back. Now, obviously, Usman didn't take a beating here, but that was a pretty wild knockout.
Oh, we've talked about mileage. Guy putting mileage on there, like a car you would drive and you put mileage on it, and every car can take a certain kind of mileage, depends on how you drive it. Justin Gaethje, reckless as you are, you're not going to get a lot of miles out of that car. That said, your car's got 200, 220 on it, 150, 170. We never know when that car's going to break down and get rickety. And after a crash like that, you can repair it, but the car's different. How different? We don't get to know. When you started that question, I knew where you were going. How do you respond from a knockout like that? We don't know. And I don't think we really have the science to before and after. What difference does this make on a human being? But I can tell you from personal experience, it makes a difference. Oh, very good point. Roy got knocked out and he was never the same Roy. He looked different in there. He sounds different. Today, play a video of him weeks after that knockout when his head clears a little bit, but play a clip of him talking. Just Roy talking about stuff before that knockout, after that knockout, and today. And today, even though those two are only a month apart, and this is now all these years later, that second one, a post-knockout, sounds more like now Roy than it does pre-knockout Roy. Everything changed. Like a lot of things changed about who that guy was, and he kept fighting, but it was just never the same. There was never the same guy there. I like Cyril Gane having lost without being knocked out by Ngannou because that type of mileage hasn't gone on to your person. I don't think Tuivasa has a shot here because we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen that height. If this is the height and Usman went out like that, you don't know. Even mentally, being the greatest undefeated, all of these things, and then Leon Edwards does that. Like, how do you mentally, let alone physically?
I mean, you're almost running victory laps in your head with 57 seconds left in the fight, right? I mean, you're thinking you might. I don't know. I mean, I've never been in a fight like that before, but you're looking up at the clock, the crowd's cheering, your time is running down. Maybe you're thinking about, if you're Khabib, a steak and a Coke.
Yeah.
My kid's in the crowd. Am I gonna bring her in? What am I? You know what I mean? All of a sudden you're out cold.
That's why I say the Buju fight. There was, I think, 15 seconds left. Like it was almost a saved by the bell moment because I knew when I was trying to get up, if I beat this count, it's a draw. I won 2 rounds. I got knocked down in the third. If I can just stand up, Jared, just stand up and get your feet under you, and it's a draw. And that's why I compare it to that, because it was just like that. I'm walking through it. Okay, Butcher, you want to trade a few? Yeah, bad idea. Oh, there was a good one. St. Pierre Serra, there's a good shocker. Oh my God. Mileage is real.
Nice.
I said a kid with 25 scrub scraps who finished 12-12 with 12 knockouts. The mileage is real. Yes, sir. Whew.
Yeah, this definitely is reminiscent of St. Pierre Serra. I would say that for sure. I guess my thought is,
but it didn't go 5 rounds. It wasn't that falling asleep at the end of the fight moment when it happened. It was, right. Just ding. Oh, wrong guy fell asleep. It's hard to find another fight that compares to this one that you go back to and go, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that knockout in the last minute of the 5th round where the champion lost his belt and had dominated almost the entire fight. Give me one more of those. This might be it, bro. When I saw it, I thought this is it. This is as shocked as I've ever been watching an MMA fight. Ebo Elder in boxing comes close, and that's 20-some years ago.
I guess there's just something about that welterweight division, boy. When you're the man, it's only one way to take you down. But congratulations, boy, Leon Edwards, man. Just again, as everybody said, just to keep at it. There's times in this fight too where he could have been finished.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Usman was fighting that well in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and again, even for parts of the 5th. Gosh,
you live by the high kick, you die by the high kick, right?
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, yeah. What a fight! What a moment!
And kudos to whoever that is in the stands with their phone.
Yes.
5 rounds in. And that level of excitement, which was very low at the time, let's be honest. And you caught that. Bravo. Oh.
It's a nice one. Talk about snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, getting beat up and knocks him out in the 13th. Rocky Marciano over Jersey Joe Wolcott. I'm going to let these guys have some love on the airwaves too. Alex and Will, throw it up there for you guys. We love yous.
My guys.
All right. There was another big fight last weekend as well, or the weekend before that, I should say. This one I don't think was as surprising, at least not for you and I. Oleksandr Usyk. He wins by split decision, Jared. The referee, the third judge, the British judge, scored it for Joshua, which was insane and completely unnecessary, and then apologized afterwards, which I'd never seen before. Apparently, the judge was like, I just like Joshua a lot.
Oh.
If I thought it happened, that maybe I could have convinced you all that it happened. But outside of that 9th round, outside of that 9th, I mean, to me, I had this one 9-3. I think you could be generous and say 8-4. I'd seen 7-5. I'll argue 3 of those rounds if you want to say 7-5. I thought Usyk. Again, listen, Anthony Joshua was a good fighter. Mm-hmm. Even after this fight. I say the same thing about Deontay Wilder. Like that, obviously that Wilder-Joshua fight, they're going to get $100 each for it now instead of $100 million, but this is still an upper echelon fighter. Oleksandr Usyk is on another level. The inability of Anthony Joshua to use the size to be able to dictate this fight against a smaller guy.
It's like only one of them, not to interrupt you, it's like only one of them knew that that's what had to happen. It's like Usyk knew that was the way to lose the fight, but Joshua didn't know that was the way to win the fight. I love that his footwork, Usyk's footwork was phenomenal. kept him out of range. But if Joshua's just trying, I see it all the time. Guys, they call it following. The announcers say sometimes he's following as opposed to cutting off the ring. Where one step back toward the center of the ring keys your opponent back up against the wall where you're trying to put him. And yeah, the game plan and execution of said game plan by Usyk was, again, brilliant performance.
Like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. Look, Usyk, this guy's a great fighter. You've been a big Usyk guy for way long now. My concern about Usyk, and the one thing I question, especially if there's a fight coming up with Tyson Fury, it's the same thing I brought up with guys like Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. If I don't see like a 90% of your wins being knockouts, I feel like you don't have enough power. And I think when you get into a fight with, and I talked to Tony about this, because Tony thinks Usyk can beat Tyson Fury. And I'm like, really? Because, Fury uses the body so well, and he's as good a boxer as Usyk. And I know Tyson Fury can knock a dude out. I know Usyk can outbox most people. He's got a great endurance and stamina. My concern is, does Tyson Fury bully this guy and drop him? That's my
that's what
big
Joshua
concern.
needed to do.
And couldn't.
This is exactly what I was saying. Kept Joshua in the center of the ring, entire fight, masterpiece. And it looked like only one of them knew that Joshua needed to use his size and volume punching and push him into a corner. And all of that said, that's not how Joshua fights. Joshua's been able to outbox everybody on the list up till now. Even Ruiz, he was outboxing. Let's be honest. He has one style. He's been able to use that style and win all his fights. Now he had to adapt that style and was unable to. To beat Usyk, he would have needed to adapt that style as a full forward, cutting off the ring, pressure fighter, which he isn't. Problem is, Tyson Fury is that, and he's about 40 pounds and a foot bigger than Usyk. And when he starts using that stuff, there's no, I'll outbox Brett. I hope he's okay with me saying that. He's about 215. I'll outbox him. All day, I outbox him, but he's bigger than I am. And if push comes to shove and we really fight each other, Brett probably wins that fight, even though I could outbox him. So give me Usyk as the boxer, but in the same ring, we have weight classes every 7 pounds. What do these guys weigh? 225 and 265? You're talking about in a regular event, 6 weight classes? Flyweights don't fight super middleweights. And that's why. Because when you get to the top of the game, the weight matters. I've beat guys over 300 pounds, but it didn't matter because we're not at the top of the game. The skill level is going to make that much of a difference. This high in the game and that big of a size disparity, I don't think the skill level can make the difference. Even though I give the edge to Usyk, Fury mauls him like a bear. And how do you survive that?
I have to share this. I saw this morning, and I was in stitches. Give me a second. Let me get this thing queued up. If you haven't seen this.
1 second. Here. Yes. Brett is one of the top 4 or 5 guys we've ever had there. Will fought a guy that was a all-state wrestler, 235 pounds, 6'3", Jack. Took his shirt off. We all went, oh, shit. Like, Will's fighting that guy. Will was 5'7", 145, and fought a guy 6'3", 235, and was winning the fight. Watch it. He was outboxing him. He'd taken the guy's biggest shots, and after eating about 18 of them, went, you know what? He started to get a little light on his feet. Honestly, if it hadn't happened the way it did, I was close to stopping it anyways. But Will look like if the fight goes the distance, he wins it. He wins that fight. It was amazing. But yeah, It's too big of a disparity. You can't cover 90 pounds at 145. No matter how good you are and how tough you are, if the other guy can fight a little bit, and he could, he just was the machine gun, he was tiring. But yeah, the difference, there was too much of a disparity for Will to overcome.
Tyson Fury called out both Oleksandr Usyk and then took some shots at Anthony Joshua. This cracked me up. I've watched it like 4 times. I want to share it with you guys.
Oh, I can't believe that AJ has gone and give Ukraine all the heavyweight belts back after all my hard work of relieving them. You big useless dosser. You've let a little steroid man come up from middleweight and set about you and take all your belts. But it's going to have to take a real British Lancaster bomber like me to go and relieve the useless little steadhead of the belts and get them back to Britain. You useless dossers. Honestly, bring them to me. The Gypsy King, bring them to me. And I'll put them in the place. I'll relieve them of the belts again.
Tell me he's just not the best. I just love that guy.
Everything you want in a heavyweight champion, I feel like. Well, and a guy, like I've said on past shows, that I wouldn't tie anybody into. And I've said maybe, I've been kind of wishy-washy. I'm there now. There is not another fighter in the history of this game that I want to get the number 1 overall draft pick, any boxer in the history of the game. Give me Tyson Fury. He's new. He's big. He does all the new stuff, all the high techs we didn't have back in the day. Yep. And there'll be boxing people that want to argue, guys, that were like 190 pounds when they were full grown and had to pack it on to get to heavyweight just to have bigger fights. There aren't a lot of arguments based on this guy's size and structure and skill level. What are the arguments? Foreman, young Foreman?
Holyfield beat Foreman. He was 215. Foreman was 255. But I think, as they said in Coming to America, George Foreman was 55 years old. So it's, again, I mean, you're talking about in his prime Tyson Fury. You're talking about, George 2, the second rendition. I get what Tony's saying here, and I know he loves Usyk. I like this from Alex. He better take his opponent seriously. I will say this. I think that was 100% serious by Fury. I think we take it as funny, but that guy's an insane person in a really good way. Somebody else, who said it in here before? Because I did want to hit this. Yeah, Alex brought this up. Joshua's rant after his loss was really disappointing to me. He for sure has lost me as a fan. Jeez. Yeah, Alex, in the immediate aftermath, Joshua tossed a couple of the belts to the ground, had a little flip out. I don't know if you saw the press conference yesterday. I hope Alex did. Jared, I don't know if you did, but I watched his press conference the next day, and I got to tell you, Anthony Joshua apologized. Talked about how stupid he felt in the moment. He was embarrassed, said the stupid things he said, and immediately regretted it. And he looked everybody dead square in the eyes. He said it like a man. He took all the responsibility and apologized, and talked about even what he meant to say. Basically just that he believes in himself, that he's not too down, and then said some really nice things about Usyk and Ukraine, and realized the moment was bigger than him. It's a loss. He's had losses before. They don't have to ruin you, and that was a big part of the press conference the next day. I hope you check that out, Alex, because I thought that was cool. And again,
you reeled it back in. There was actually a comment. I can't remember who the 2 fighters were. Tony always clears me up when I get these. I'm not sure who the 2 fighters were. Yeah. But he made mention of some heavyweights back in the day where one of them had been interviewed at like 60 years old or something. And it's who's the hardest puncher in the history of the game that you ever fought. And he said a guy, and the reporter went, I watched the post-fight interview. You said that guy couldn't punch at all. Like that he wasn't a heavy hitter. And he said, the dude told him, I don't remember the last half of that fight. And don't take anything a fighter says right at the end of his fight to represent him with. That's I agree with Alex. That was some dumb shit. I'm on board with you. But in another sense, as a fighter, like judging character based on the words, I don't think that the commission should hand the loser a microphone.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Even the winner in some situations, I don't know if we want to. So, yeah, that just doesn't make sense because the rest of us have only seen him fight. So when we're building our impression of his character, this is the main opportunity we've had. This is when you're being seen by the most people, and you did that. And people are going to spend their whole lives thinking you're a jackass. They didn't see the revocation of that.
Right. Now, Will asked the next day, that press conference, was that on his own or because his manager? I don't think it matters. Because think about Deontay Wilder. His whole team was like, dude, you gotta after the second fight, when he definitively lost again, he still didn't want to give any credit. He didn't want to say anything nice about Tyson Fury, and it took a couple days, and it finally came out. It was, to me, that was way too late. So again, if somebody said to Anthony Joshua, dude, that was stupid, get out there and apologize, and he was like, yeah, I will, then he was okay. Somebody had to point. I don't care how he got there. He was man enough to realize that he made a huge mistake. He embarrassed himself and acted like a jackass.
And what do I always say? What do I always say? Here we've got Tony and Will and Alex and Joe, and these are my people. And what do I always say about those? You need your team to be able to do that.
I don't see, again, with Bill, I don't think it's being coerced. Again, it's taking practical advice when you're still being angry. You're still not in the right frame of mind to make a decision, and your manager's like, you really should go out there and, say something smart. To me, that's a guy that I feel hopeful for. Again, Deontay Wilder, after the
close to him that care about him.
Yeah, remember? I mean, Deontay Wilder was going nuts for months, making up allegations and talking insane. And
who was the other guy?
Right, dude. He wouldn't listen to anybody around him.
There's another one of those from a few months ago where I was just like, where are the people? Andy Ruiz. When he blew the second fight, where are the people who care about you, close to you, that aren't just gassing your head up like you're the champion? You're going to knock him out again because you're the champion. And that is 100% of the people you had around you, because otherwise you wouldn't have blown up like you did. You wouldn't have skipped training like you did. It was party time, and all the people around you took advantage of party time as opposed to trying to make sure that you did what was in your best interest. If Anthony Joshua had somebody close to him that told him that this was in his best interest, that he looked like a jackass, good. Will, Alex, Tony, Joe, I ever start looking like a jackass, shoot me a text so I can do something different.
I'll call you straight up. I dial the digits. I'm not a dialer. I'm more of a texter. What I would, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing out there? Yeah, you need that. And again, listen, some people want help. Some people don't want help. Deontay Wilder didn't want any help from anybody, and Anthony Joshua clearly did. And to me, that's the difference. I think he can move on from here, and I hope he does. Again, it's going to be like a $3 million fight between him and Deontay Wilder. But it's all the same. All right. We still got a flurry to come from Jared. That boxing glove behind him, there's a story. It's an amazing story. We'll get to that. And we'll also do our fight of the night. But next, we will do our tale of the tape. Tuivasa versus Gone next on the Throwing Jabs podcast.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
Tonight, live from Paris, France, it's UFC Fight Night 209 featuring a heavyweight bout in the main event between Tai Tuivasa and Ciryl Gane. Let's break it down. Tai Tuivasa is 29 years old. He's 6'2" with a 75-inch reach and a record of 14-3 with 13 knockouts. From Sydney, Australia, he was originally drawn to rugby, getting signed to a professional club in 2010, though he later gave up the sport in 2012 in favor of mixed martial arts and boxing. He made his mixed martial arts debut in July of 2012 with a first-round TKO and compiled records of 5-2 and 14-2 in boxing and kickboxing, respectively, before turning his attention solely to MMA in 2016. He made his UFC debut the following year, earning a Performance of the Night bonus with a first-round flying knee knockout of Rashad Coulter, and followed that up with a first-round knockout of Cyril Asker before defeating the legendary former champion Andrei Arlovski by unanimous decision in June of 2018. Just 6 months later, he headlined his first event against former champion Junior Dos Santos, building an early lead until getting dropped with a powerful right cross in the second round and finished with ground and pound. He then went on a 3-fight skid, losing by decision to Blagoy Ivanov and an arm triangle to Sergey Spivak before bouncing back in 2020 with a devastating knockout of Steven Struve. He followed it up with a 49-second blowout of Henry Hunsucker and then took on Greg Hardy, earning another Performance of the Night bonus when 1 minute into the first round he caught Hardy rushing in, knocking him out with an explosive right cross left hook combo. 5 months later, he knocked out Augusto Sakai in 2 rounds, and in February of 2022, he took on the always dangerous Derek Lewis, surviving 2 takedowns and several powerful blows before earning his 3rd straight Performance of the Night with a thunderous elbow to Lewis's jaw, knocking him out cold. A hard-hitting pressure fighter, Tuivasa uses a combination of feints and chopping leg kicks to set up his shots and possesses devastating one-punch knockout power in both hands. Ciryl Gane is 32 years old. He's 6'5" with an 81-inch reach and a record of 10-1 with 4 knockouts and 3 submissions. From La Roche-sur-Yon, France, Gane got into martial arts in his early 20s, making his professional kickboxing debut in 2016, winning the AFMT Muay Thai heavyweight title with a second-round knockout of Jeremy Jean. He defended his title 6 times, winning 4 by knockout before switching to MMA in 2018, winning his debut with a first-round front choke of Bobby Sullivan for the Canadian promotion TKO's vacant heavyweight title. He defended it twice with a second-round knockout of Adam Daiska and a first-round TKO of Royer Sosa. In August of 2019, he made his UFC debut with a first-round triangle choke of Rafael Pessoa, and 2 months later submitted Dontel Mays with a heel hook. He closed out 2019 with a dominant decision over Tanner Boser. However, he did not fight again for a year as 3 fights that were set fell through due to his opponents and himself getting injured or training. He returned in December of 2020, taking on UFC legend Junior Dos Santos, and despite the disparity in experience, he put on a dominant performance, forcing Dos Santos against the cage, dropping him with an elbow and stopping him with ground and pound. 2 months later, he took on number 3 contender Jairzinho Rozenstruik, controlling the distance with his jab and leg kicks and dominating all of the grappling exchanges en route to a lopsided decision. In June of 2021, he put on an excellent display, dominating perennial contender Alexander Volkov with his speed, jab, and footwork to secure a unanimous decision, and in August followed that up with a 3rd-round knockout of Derek Lewis to capture the UFC interim heavyweight title. 5 months later, on January 22nd, 2022, he took on champion Francis Ngannou in a highly anticipated unification fight, and coming out to a fast start, building up an early lead with his fluid movement and striking until Ngannou began utilizing his grappling skills in the end of the fight to pull out a close decision. Gane is a proficient technical striker who excels at controlling the distance and using a combination of speed and footwork to dictate the pace. Can Tuivasa's power and rugged style give Gane trouble as he continues to rise to the top of the division? Or will Bongamin's speed and fluid style prove too much as he seeks another showdown with heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou? Tune in Saturday night to UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Tuivasa, and let's find out. All right, Jared, did you like, by the way, I acted shocked in the voiceover when I said that he had wrestling skills? Yeah, that was something else. 6 of Gane's last 7 fights have gone the distance, that being either 3 rounds or 5 rounds. Tai Tuivasa has only been in the 3rd round twice in his career. And my thought is, if Cyril Gane stays on his horse the whole time, doing what he does, all he's got to do is not get knocked out by Tai Tuivasa, who I can't imagine wouldn't be completely gassed by the 3rd round. I can't see this guy surviving championship rounds against someone as amazingly athletic as Cyril Gane. If Tai Tuivasa has any chance, it's going to happen in the 1st or 2nd round. If you're in the 3rd round watching this fight tonight, and you're trying to bet the live odds,
going Gane.
Yeah. That's the way I see this fight. I like Tai Tuivasa. I don't think he gets enough credit for being he's a pretty good fighter. I just don't think he's in the league of Cyril Gane. And again, I think this is going to come down to endurance. There's no reason for, just looking at the way Cyril Gane fought against Ngannou, I'm going to assume he's going to fight a similar fight against a guy with tremendous knockout power, not get knocked out. But I just think the stamina is going to be the difference here. He's going to be able to, especially later in this fight, take Tuivasa apart.
Well,
no shoey for the Tui tonight is what I'm saying.
No shoey for Tui. Nice. I like dynasty fantasy football better than the 1-year leagues, and this guy is why. A Cyril Gane, Justin Gaethje, who I caught in like his 4th fight and was like, "This is UFC," all over it. I love having the guys. It's one of my favorite parts of this podcast is those 5 people I pulled out on the first show and said, "Here they are, Savannah March next week." Cyril Gane. Now the second part, Cyril Gane. Windows. It's about closing those windows. When you shoot, you leave a window open. When you punch, windows. Right? So we shut our shoulders up, chin down. We close all those windows and try to leave as little possibility of getting knocked out. When you say he won, and it's 4 out of the last 6 by decision, he stopped Lewis and Dos Santos. But when you say that, I look at that list as opposed to, he's not knocking anybody out. Alexander Volkov. You outpointed Volkov. Rosenstruck didn't find that window I'm talking about in 15 minutes of game time. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's like, how does Tui find that? How does Tubaka find that window if Gane can't, or if Ngannou and Lewis and Rosenstruck? I think those guys are better strikers than this guy. So when we say that's his only chance to win, and several guys have failed doing that are better than he is at it, it was at minus 600 last I looked, and I don't think that's big enough. I think you don't bet that, but Gane is there's not a lot of ways for Tua to win. I don't see that, even that puncher's chance. Yeah. Oh yeah, you outpointed Volkov. How does Tui land that spot? Stand and bang, though, is not Cyril Gane. When have you ever seen Cyril Gane stand and bang? He doesn't leave those windows open. It's the only chance and if he does, Tubaka, if he does stand and bang, he can still win this fight. I think Cyril Bang could outbang or outpoint this kid, but if he tries to outpoint him, he doesn't see a lot of danger. How much damage does this guy do to Cyril Gane? It's slim to none. He's just not going to take an enormous amount of damage. Look at the other guys he fought and how much damage he took. You want to talk about mileage? Mileage, this is the best heavyweight in the UFC right now. As far as how he fights and how much mileage he's going to take to his body in each fight, he could be fighting at 38 and still having decent interviews after the fights, if you know what I'm saying.
By the way, in his entire professional career, including the Muay Thai, I mean, Cyril Gane, outside of the loss to him, never lost a fight in his life. He's never been knocked out. Again, in all iterations of this guy's fight career, he's a winner. He's also, I mean, just you look at this guy, 6'4", 247. I mean, he is just
ideal.
It's like a perfect athlete. He's everything you want an athlete to be. I love Tai Tuivasa. I think he's a lot of fun. And again, I'm saying don't underestimate how good of a fighter that guy is. But you're talking about one of the top two guys in the sport in the heavyweight division. And a guy who's got talent in that division like we've never seen before. The way he moves and the toolkit he brings, Now, again, he couldn't beat Francis Ngannou, who also showed up with some new tools to counteract that. Tai Tuivasa, he don't got any of the tools.
When you watch that heavyweight fight, and I picked Gane, and I've had Gane for a long time, and I didn't see Ngannou to come in at the same rate, but he's a monster.
Alex, I'm with you there. I want to see Tai Tuivasa win. Man, as a heavyweight who doesn't look anything like Ngannou, I have to cheer for T. Yeah, man, I'm with you 100%.
Okay, I don't know. That's Gane's fighting style, is to really respect the opponent. That's kind of stylistically how he goes about it, but I got to go back to what you just said about Ngannou, and I didn't see him coming at the same rate. The guy is a monster. He beat Cyril Gane. But you watch that fight, it's unlike any other heavyweight fight that we have ever seen in the history of the UFC. We are there with these two guys. They could fight one another 5 times. Who's Ngannou fighting? These two guys, this is the top of the division, whether we like it or not. And they're not done growing, it doesn't seem like yet. I'm very happy as a fan with these two guys. And Gane wins tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't see that going any other way. You know, again, listen, I think we all enjoyed when Ruiz beat Joshua. Who doesn't like to see the fat guy win? You know, I'm a big fan of that. The 1993 Philadelphia Phillies, bunch of fat bastards. One of my favorite teams of all time.
It's all right. So. We love it. And we joke, too, because we love it. Yesterday, Joe said, Jason's shut down from the podcast for a little while, but he's got to switch jobs and stuff, and then he'll be back up and running. And I said, I don't know if he'll be running, Joe.
Yeah, poor choice of words.
But, yeah, we love the big guys. Let's go, Tui. No shoey for Tui.
No shoey for Tui. That is for sure for tonight. Do you have a fight of the night? Because I know I do.
Go ahead.
As much as I'm looking forward to this great fight between Gane and Tuivasa, my man Marvin Vettori getting back at it against another one of my favorites, Robert Whittaker. One of these guys, I assume, factors in somewhere down the line, probably for another title shot against Israel Adesanya, assuming he wins his next fight against Alex Peraza. So we shall see. What's your fight of the night?
I like Hammenegger. Stephanie Hammenegger. Ellen Perez is who she's fighting. She's a good fighter, though. She's good. She's good. She's a pressure fighter. Hammenegger for the win.
I love it. All right. Well,
also leading off the show at noon, so it's the first fight.
Oh, cool. All right. I like that. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show, except for Jared's got a flurry he's going to have to explain here in a hot minute. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. We're on the YouTube. You can go to clovercrestmedia.com/Throwing Jabs podcast. All right, Jared, do what you do, man. Take it away. It's time for the flurry.
My good friend John Iceman Scully, former light heavyweight contender, does auctions on his Facebook where he has memorabilia that the fighters he's in touch with sign things or do pictures, autographs, and then he sells them to the fans, auctions them off on his Facebook, and uses the proceeds to fight to help retired boxers that are in need, whether they're dealing with brain trauma or just whether they're dealing with financial troubles, whatever it is. So I know some of you know I took a 23andMe a few years back and found out that I'm almost half black, but I spent my entire life thinking that my father was full-blood Native American, as he did, and his father before him, full-blood Native American. So I got a Native name when I was born. I had short, almost orange hair, and I was less than 5 ounces, being a twin. So my father gave me the Native name Little Red, based on those things. And when I saw that John Scully was raising money for Little Red to go to the Boxing Hall of Fame because he's fallen on some hardship, and that the thing he was auctioning off was going to buy the plane ticket, I had to have my wife tell me to take the glove. To be perfectly honest, I thought it was cool that I would buy a plane ticket for Danny Lopez, who is Little Red, who is where I got my native name from. I thought that would be a cool thing. I ended up getting the glove. There's Michael Nunn, it's Reggie Johnson, James Toney is down there at the bottom, Michael Spinks. This is Antonio Tarver right here, and then that's RJJ. That's Tony's favorite right there in the middle, RJJ. That's Roy Jones Jr. right there. So I ended up with a pretty cool glove, but like I said, I probably would have bought the plane ticket because it's Little Red, you know? And I'm talking to my dad about it, and he's like, oh, man, that was my favorite guy. I remember when he was I was so devastated his second fight. And I'm like, yeah, I was there. I remember the TV was over here in the corner, and there were people right here on the couch, and I was right between you and the wall and the ebbs and flows of the fight. And I don't really remember the fight, but I remember like I had never been in that house before. We were in North Carolina, and I'd never been there before. I never went there again. And as I'm talking to Dad about it, he's like, that's because we walked across the street from your grandfather's house, yada, yada. And we're going through all the details, and I go on my computer and look up Danny Lopez like I would any other fighter. And that second fight with Sandoval was on June 21st, 1980. And 2 weeks after that fight, I turned 2 years old. So I was able, through this experience, to establish a new earliest memory at 1 year old, watching Little Red Lopez fight Sandoval for the second time with my father. Thanks, guys.
Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clovercrest, top 3 corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, locked it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut, got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a stand and eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing, counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bringing crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is Throwing Jabs.
We can expect another wet summer in Connecticut, and that means more mosquitoes than ever. If you don't have your home serviced for mosquito control and you find you're spending most of your outside time swatting those little pests, or you did have your yard sprayed but you still have bites all over your body, you're in luck. Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut provides the best value in mosquito control services because of how they treat your yard using the Mosquito Shield tailored treatment system. All mosquito control service is not the same. They don't use a fixed schedule or an identical product, one-size-fits-all service program. You can't control mosquitoes on a set number of sprays or visits. Unlike the competition, Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut will service you for the season, whatever it takes to provide superior results. The promise has awarded them an industry-leading customer retention rating of 90%. Visit MosquitoShieldCNCT.com to schedule an appointment with Wade DeCesare and enjoy the rest of the summer mosquito-free.